Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do the answers for exercise 5, day 81, which was 183 and 184. So I know this was something that you did before Christmas break, and then we didn't finish it, and then I checked it, and then today I've had you redo it, kind of. So I want to look at the top. Look at number 1. So any fraction multiplied by its blank is always 1. Now, I cannot remember if we actually learned this or not, but the answer is the reciprocal. Okay, so any fraction multiplied by its reciprocal is always 1. Now, I'm going back to see, yeah, okay, we talked about reciprocal on the exercise before this. If you'll turn back to page 181, up at the top, it's talking about the reciprocal. Reciprocal just simply means to flip the fraction upside down. Okay, so number 1, any fraction multiplied by its reciprocal is always 1. And then it says, for example, so I'm going to have to do this with my pen. So an example of a fraction being multiplied by its reciprocal. Let's take 2/3 and multiply it by its reciprocal. Its reciprocal is 3/2, or 3/2. Okay, now you know with multiplication you do not have to have common denominators. We're just going to go across. 2 times 3 is 6, and 3 times 2 is 6. And that equals 1. And that's what that answer, that's what it says. Any fraction multiplied by its reciprocal is always 1, because you know the numbers on top of themselves is the same as 1. So you could do anything. Let's do 4/8 times its reciprocal. Okay, its reciprocal, take this and flip it upside down. It would be 8/4. And then multiply straight across, you get 32/32. There you get 1. Okay? All right, so number 2. To divide a fraction, first we blank the fraction, next we multiply as usual. Okay, so to divide a fraction, first you blank the fraction. So if we have 3/4, okay, and then just say we want to divide by, let's say we want to divide by 2/6. Okay, so 3/4 divided by 2/6. Well, number 2 says to divide by a fraction, first you flip the fraction. You have to rewrite it. So the answer on number 2 is flip. So to divide the fraction, you flip the fraction. Next we multiply as usual. Okay, so flip it and change it to multiplication. And then you multiply straight across. This would be 18/8. Okay, this is improper. So that means you have to simplify. You can't leave a fraction improper. When it's improper, then you're just going to divide to get a mixed number. How many whole times does 8 go into 18? 2 whole times. With how many left over? 2 8s. But 2 8s can also be simplified. Whole number stays the same. 2 8 simplifies to 1/4. Okay, so on number 2 on your page, to divide by a fraction, first we flip the fraction, next we multiply as usual, and then it says, for example, and I just put an example there for you. Now, number 3, do you understand this concept completely? Yes or no? If not, you need to pause this and come tell me, I don't get it. Okay, I'm just going to assume that you put yes. If you didn't, that's okay. Now, let's add on this concept. Sometimes we need to divide a fraction by another fraction. It works the same way as dividing a whole number by a fraction, like this. 2/3 divided by 1/4. This problem is asking how many 1/4 are in 2/3. First, you have to flip to find the reciprocal, then multiply. Okay? And then you get 8/3. And then you divide that because that's improper, and you get 2 2/3. Now let's do another one. This is still on page 183, right above number 4 in that box. 3/5 divided by 2/7. Basically, it becomes 3/5 times 7/2, the reciprocal. Multiply across, and then you simplify. Okay? Now, on number 4, you got that right. Number 5, unless you changed it, you didn't have it right. So let's work through it. 6/11. Now this is what you would write on your page. Right underneath here, this is what you would write. Change it to multiplication. Flip the other one. I actually worked it on your paper for you. Multiply across, you get 60/33. I don't know why you got 110. I think because you didn't flip it or something. I'm not sure. Okay, this is improper. How many whole times can 33 go into 60? 1 whole time with 9/11 is what it would simplify to. 6 was right. Now on 7, you just left it improper. This is what you did at first. Now you may have already changed it, but it was actually 2 1/7 because you have to simplify those improper fractions. Number 8, you were working on it the right way, but something happened. I'm not sure what happened. So you have 9/11. This is what you should have written, times 4/3. You got to take that reciprocal of that second number. Okay, this should be what you wrote. Don't think it in your head. Write it down. Multiply across. You would have gotten 36/33, which is what you got. And then this is improper, so you would have to simplify it down, and you would end up getting 1 1/11. Okay, number 9 you got right. Flip to the next page. Okay, so number 10, it says, which fraction is completely reduced? You circled 3/9 first, but 3/9 can be simplified down to 1/3. 6/10 can be simplified down to 3/5. 5/18 can't be simplified at all. So that's simplified all the way. Okay, and then you said you needed help on 11 and 12. Now, you may have already done this, but I'm just going to assume you've not. So this would be, so our original problem is 20 minus 8 6/7. Okay. Your best bet is to rewrite it this way. So 20, and there's no fraction, minus 8 6/7. Okay? Now, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to borrow from this and make it 19. And then we're going to need a fraction that has 7 on the bottom, because remember it's subtraction, so we have to have the common denominators. So it have to be 7 on the bottom, so it have to be 7/7. 19 7/7. Understand? Remember, we've done this before. Take away from that and change it to 19 7/7, because 19 7/7 is the same thing as 20. We've just renamed it to something we can use, because we couldn't use the 20. So we couldn't take away from the 20 or add to it. So we just had to rename it to something that was usable. And 19 7/7 is what we needed, because we had to have 7, because it had to be a common denominator. Okay. Now, can we do 7 minus 6? Yes, we can. So let's go ahead and do 19 minus 8, which would be 11. 7 minus 6 is 1. And then you keep the denominators the same. So 11 1/7. Okay? Now, just think of it like this. If you take 11 and you add 8 to it, what do you get? 19, right? Okay? And then 6 plus 1 would give you 7/7, right? So if you added these two things, you're going to get 19 7/7. It's just like regular Okay? All right. Why don't you, well, on number 12, let me go ahead and do this one for you. Okay, so this is 2/3. We're going to write it up and down this way because it's easier. Okay? You should have rewritten it up and down. 2/3 plus 2 3/7. Now, what must we have when we add or subtract? We must have common denominators. Okay. So, what we're going to do on this one is we are going, let's see, 14, 15, 16, 17, 2/3 between one. Okay, so we're going to get common denominators. Now, you know this is 0, right? So you can add 0 plus 2, it'd just be 2. So we don't have to do anything here. We don't have to rename anything over here. Over here, we have to have something up here to subtract because you couldn't do 0 minus 8, correct? So up here, it doesn't matter. You can do that. So basically, we need common denominators. Okay? The 2 is going to just come right over. Okay? Now you have 7 and you have 3. What could be the common denominator? Let's try 21. Would you agree? Now, do you remember how to get these numbers? You take this number and you say 3 times 7 is 21. So then 2 times 7, whatever happens down here must happen up here. 2 times 7 is 14. Okay, and down here, 7 times 3 is 21. This 2 is just sitting there. We don't do anything with it. So 7 times 3 is 21. So whatever we do down here, we've got to do up here. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, so now we've got our fractions that have common denominators, and we can go ahead and add. So 2 plus 0 is 2, so our whole number is 2. And then we're going to add our numerators. 14 and 9 gives us 23. Our denominator stays the same, but this fraction is improper. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Now you notice we already have a 2. We already have a whole 2. How many whole times can 21 fit into 23? One time, right? Okay, so we're going to add that 1 to this 2. So now we have 3 whole. And when 21 goes into 23 one time, how many is left over? And then our denominator stays the same. Okay? If you don't understand that, you need to ask me. All right, number 13. You got that one wrong, so unless you changed it, let's look at that one. So 9n equals 8 over 72. All right. Now remember, basically what you have to do, okay, so basically we're saying that we got to figure out what n is. Remember how we did this, okay? We would do not, we'd cross these, so it would be 72 times 9, because remember it's cross multiplication, equals, and then this one 8 times n. All right, so then you're just going to multiply this. If you multiply it, you're going to end up getting 648. Okay, so 648 is 72 times 9 equals, bring this down, one step at a time. See, I'm doing one step at a time. Okay, I'm just bringing everything down after I did this step. Okay, remember we want to get n all by itself, right? Okay, so in order to do that, notice this is multiplication. Okay, in order to do that, we have to divide both sides by 8. And this cancels this out. So we're left with n by itself. So then you're left with 648 divided by, you can write it either way, doesn't matter, 8 equals n. Now, if you want to pause it right quick and figure out what that is and see if you get the right answer.
Hey, Lydia.
Okay? Just cross multiplication and then divide. All right. Why don't you see if you can get number 14? Okay, number 14 is n equals 144. Okay, if you got that wrong, you need to figure out why, or you need to come and ask me. Number 15, n equals 195. Okay, if you got those wrong, can't figure out why the answer is that, you need to let me know because you need to know how to do this. Okay, if you haven't done numbers 16, 17, 18, and 19, you need to pause it and go ahead and finish those and then turn it back on and I'll give you the answers. Okay, the answer on number 16 is 72 candles. Number 17 is 1,801, remainder 21. If you didn't get that, it's 1,801, remainder 21. And number 18 was just checking it, so the answer should have been what was inside the box on number 17. And then the multiplication drill, I'll have to look at that myself. Okay? If you had trouble on any of this, you need to let me know. That's all for this lesson.